Alright guys, here we are from the trailer reaction. Today we're reacting to the trailer for the movie The Domestics.
This looks interesting.
Yeah, so we got a nice poster here with an American axe and a couple of people and some
American axe.
stranger-esque characters in the background that I will assume are the bad guys.
Did we get an elevator pitch for this? This was a recommended one.
No, it was just sent in saying, have you seen this trailer? And we haven't.
So it looks like something that'll have some sort of horror thing to it.
So being that it was sent to us, either it's a terrible trailer or it's an amazing trailer. And let's just find out.
You know what I'm betting on.
So that looks interesting.
Thank you. Good. I was afraid. So the name of The Domestics is really dumb when you see like what it is and like why would you call yourself that? It's like we're the pussies. We're the get kills. Like that's dumb. But the concept is good enough that I don't care about that.
I do wonder a couple of things, like where did the initial attack come from that poisoned off, most of the world? I do think it's a little strange that at one point the man seems to be using a screwdriver as his weapon, and I'm like, you're going across the country through this gang territory, and you're not strapped like constantly.
I had the same thought, like
with at least a knife.
Yeah, even if you are trying not to fall into the depraved Mad Maxian world, you should still
You have to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah, you should still have something already. You shouldn't have to find weapons while you're out there. I would think.
I would love, and I know it's never going to be explained, because how could it be? I want to know the exact way that these gangs formed and how they, because in everything, there's like this weird niche type of a gang where it's like, well, we wear sheets on our heads, and we use nails and with hammers and bullshit, and we gamble. Like, how does that become a popular enough thing? Like in the... I don't know, like in the Batman Beyond world, like there are the Jokers, like as a gang, and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense that a bunch of people would emulate this thing, but like, who's like, I put sheets on my head, unless they're like a branch of the KKK, like where does that come from? And exactly what I need to explore. I need to have it happen from the day that shit happened to like a guy who like happens to wear a sheet on his head, being like the alpha of some group, and then slowly expanding. Like I need to know how many days after the initial thing is this? How many days, years, months, what have you? Because it would take a certain amount of time before things would degrade into this. And guns are still being used, so it can't be that far in the future.
Yeah, I think we have and I was going to mention The Walking Dead anyway, but I feel like this is another thing where it's like, it's Walking Dead rules where there were a lot of guns and there's not many people.
Well, no, but it does make sense that they're like, guns,
okay, whatever.
Especially when you kill off a large majority of the world and it's not with a war, there would just be guns and ammunition anywhere.
I'm willing to suspend my disbelief and stuff.
Because what percentage do you think die? Like if like 90% of America was just wiped out, and it wasn't a controlled wipeout where we had people, God damn my alarms, where we didn't have a controlled wipeout, where we had people just die sporadically, so you don't have 10% in one lump. You have, like a percent here, a percent there, 2%, like, such a small lump. There would be, like, a Walmart would have enough guns to last forever.
There's a lot of guns just floating around out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Walmarts and gun stores.
I'm willing to believe it, and like as much as I agree, I don't know, because it's always funny. Like Walking Dead, I was gonna bring it up for like the claimers or whatever, right? Is people like work out a system, and you could see that eventually turning into this like ideology where it's like the only fair way is to like spin the wheel and to decide what we do. We can't have anyone like decide what what we do, and then other people start calling them the gamblers, and they're like, I like that. I'm gonna start putting aces in like my my helmet or whatever.
Maybe,
but like that shouldn't take like 3 years. That should take like generations or something like that.
Did you see Doomsday, where there's like the knights and the punks and
no, but yeah.
And like that kind of makes sense, where like in a society where power and everything's gone, that you might revert back to like, okay, we take over this castle because it's the way to do it. Okay, we have a forge and we can do things, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
But things don't happen quickly, and they don't happen uniformly, where things would be like this. We're like, all right, this is the Northern Division of the fucking sheetheads.
It's always this like ideology where like they're like fanatics willing to fight to the death for their thing, and they have to do their weird costume ritual stuff, even though it's like, wait, this is not a thing right now.
And the idea that anyone, i.e. these domestics, are still people, it's crazy to think that other ones would just degrade so quickly.
Well, it sounds like that's their thing, is they were like, no, we're going to be people. That's why we call ourselves the domestics.
Sure.
The domestique up in here.
But so much of that is not just an option. Like, I don't know if there are enough crazy people to survive in this, like, 1% world that these factions could be the majority.
What do you mean?
So
all the different crazy people?
There's only what they say. There's 4 different factions of people. The domestics, the sheets, the nailers, the gamblers, or whatever.
Cherries.
The cherries. Okay, so there's a couple more, but
There's
so many of them are like just brutal murderers compared to the 1% that isn't. But if you think about natural society, what percent is murderers?
But you see, every movie always does this. We're all just waiting to be vicious murderers.
Yes.
There's a thin gossamer veneer laid over the primal. Blah, blah, blah. That's like the whole premise usually. I don't agree with that either. I think most people would be like, well, I don't want to have to worry about getting killed all the time. Maybe I won't kill anybody else. And
I think even not so much that. It's that there are so many creature comforts being that, assuming this is not hundreds of years in the future, that people just had and are used to. And the domestics, the ones that are less likely to want to fight, are probably the smart ones that could actually bring about having a better life near you. And I'd be more inclined to enslave them than kill them.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Probably all of your engineers and
exactly
people
that are smarter than and not stronger. You would want.
We built a hydroelectric dam, and they're like, oh, we just have guys turning a big crank.
Yeah,
that's
or just could get things working again that have fallen disrepair, because like the infrastructure is all set up. You just have to maintain it and be able to work it, and I think that smart people could do that.
So even though we've spent this entire review talking about the apocalypse, what I liked about this trailer most was that they don't really seem to get into it, and I'm happy about that. Like, I hate when we have an apocalypse movie where like the main character's goal is to like cure the virus or stop the apocalypse.
That's always so far-fetched and unrealistic that one person can like. And I almost want to say make a difference. But
take note, kids. It's impossible for one person to make a difference. Yeah, like I like that this is just like we have to get somewhere for some reason.
Yeah, they want to go to their mom's house or whatever.
And like it's dangerous to get there. And we set up in the intro. Guess what? It's dangerous in all these creative like video game ways. We got all these factions, tribes, and all that stuff, and they meet a dude that's maybe a friend, maybe pretending to be a friend, whatever he is, along the way, and then you find out like a bit about this world, and you got some running and some sweating and some bleeding, and then they get there and they win, and it's great. I don't know, right?
Presumably.
That'd be a nice little thing. I don't want it to end with like a news report like, I am now the president, we're systematically fixing everything, just stay in your homes, right? I don't like, just have this messed up world, have a little story happen in it, use this as an excuse to amp up all the drama and all that stuff. Could be a fun thing. I don't need a big like it turns out it was Russia or something like.
Yeah, no, it's always better when there's not an explanation for like the ending, the ultimate problem. And I know that like I would love to know why things happened and who those people were and how this all happened, but I know they can't explain that well, so they shouldn't even try. And it should just pick up already inside the thing happening. Maybe some little off the cuff comments that like could make my mind run as to how things happened. But I think this could be interesting.
I think it's more relatable because if you remember a while ago, all the power went out on like the East Coast.
Yeah.
And like people were like in their cars listening to the radio to figure out like what happened or something like that. It wasn't like and like you just didn't know. There's zero power in the entire thing. And then like slowly finding out that like, oh, the power's out like in a large area or something like that. It isn't just your street or your house or your town or your state. It's this gigantic thing or whatever, right? So like you wouldn't always know all of the things. Like if the radio was just static, you'd be like, well, fuck. Right, there's no internet, there's no whatever, there's no cell towers.
And this is kind of like a version of Mad Max and The Purge kind of come together and make this this movie of more of a modern day thing. And I think there's room for this. This could be interesting, and it might even be a new franchise.
Oh dear. Well, yeah, because you could tell any story in this world.
Exactly.
There's no stars and no like not like a huge budget, I think though. So I
think no stars is actually important for a movie to start its own defining thing, because you don't want anything being like, oh, that's the Tom Cruise movie. Oh, look what Tom Cruise is doing. Like, I think it's so much more powerful to not know a star. And actually, the main guy, I think I've seen him in something. I keep looking at his face.
In one shot, I was like, is that Will Wheaton? And I'm like, no. Is that whoever? No. Is that who's this person?
But I think that's important because then you would just associate these characters with that person. And I don't know. I think this would be a franchise where the next one would not take place with these characters.
I was gonna say.
So
yeah.
it's not like that super important thing, like where you're like,
if
Thor
you,
has to be a guy I don't know.
No,
Like,
and if you start with Tom Cruise, then like the sequel's like, oh yeah, it has the same name, but
Yes.
there's no stars. It's like no one in it, right?
exactly. But if you keep that trend, you can go forever.
Yeah, I mean, if this is like any good, I totally agree. I hope that they keep the costumes and they just make another one with a different family doing a different thing. Maybe they have to stay somewhere for some reason, and things come to them. Like I don't know.
It's 10 years later, a new gang is rising and it's slowly sweeping across.
Yeah. No, like you do like the usual, like this has all the same plots that Mad Max could have. Like the potential for all the same plots. Like a dude's like defecting from one of the gangs, but he stole something, and they're after him, and you don't know, and like the nice people want to help the kid, and then there's a whole thing that happens. Like
also reminds me a bit of Smoking Aces with how they introduced the different like sects. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give this a thumbs up. I'd check this out.
Oh yeah, obviously. I was gonna say, I think we like this.
It'd be funny if I ended with like, well, this is gone. Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Stay a mile away from this crap. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.